This week is the first time in about a month that I've been in the same space for more than 3 days. And I had this craving to finally paint something that's like a composition or an illustration or that has imagery that tells a narrative. I think that for the past few weeks, because I've been painting there in the spot, it's like I kind of only have the capacity, or I open myself up just to do it there and then that's it. Um, and actually, probably I'm realizing now that in that time, it's given my mind and my vision and my periphery time to kind of digest and marinate. But then when I came into the studio, I just had this deep, like, I need to make maybe like a triptych, but potentially even like a wider narrative. And for me, what's really kind of prevalent is what's going on politically, the rise in what I spoke about last week in my newsletter about Dabke, about Levantine spirit, about when you are close to death, when you are close to adversity, that is the time to celebrate. And it's that kind of like sensitive, nuanced maturity about joy is not burying your head in the sand, joy is being present in the moment. And then, okay, how do you put that into a composition? Well, there's so many ways, but I don't like to plan too much. I like to also just follow what my instinct is, because that is usually so on point. And for me, what has been coming up a lot is this symbolism of the horse, of the Arab stallion, but also the horse represents like the loyal companion. It's always the noble creature in a war that takes someone to war, or it has like therapeutic qualities or innate instinctual qualities to carry us and transport us into other dimensions. And in so many Greek myths and the Quran, like the horse is the thing, the vehicle of transport that takes someone from one state of being and becoming into the next. And like obviously you have Pegasus with the wings. Like there are so many ways that a horse is used. And so these three paintings that I created, for me, I just kept coming back to the horse. The horse is a symbol, and then also the portals of the doorways and the trees, which again are always symbols to me of entering a dream world. And blue is always representative of protection. Like in the North Africa, blue is often used as a mystic symbol and a color of protection. And then obviously, or not obviously, but you know, if you think about Mykonos, or you think about like the Mediterranean islands, the Balearic Islands, they use a lot of cobalt blues, and blue back in Greek mythology is again a symbol of protection. And then it's also a symbol of wealth, because like you would crush the ultramarine and the cobalt and the lapis precious stones, that blue, into pigment, which would then be used as like a color on maps. So blue is a symbol of wealth, as also protection. And so I'm always drawn to that color just because I love it. But these images were coming out, and it was a way of like channeling what I'm feeling about the Middle East, which is like this tie and this knowing and this sense of duty to the people there, to the family that I'm threaded with there, and to this love of the history there. But then this almost like this kind of witnessing of the privilege of safety, to be able to like observe that and to process it. And rather than feeling secondary feelings about that safety, using it to say, okay, now I've had time to marinate, how can I create art and alchemy from this process and from these observations? And I'm really drawn also like lately to the Guernica, Picasso's Guernica. I mean, I have a picture of it like above my desk. This is the one with Calder in front of the Guernica for I think it was like the World Pavilion Expo, one of the first expos, and this was before the Guernica became what it is. It was already like, you know, people obviously who saw it knew the truth of it, because it wouldn't have been put in the pavilion, but now it's probably one of the world's most famous paintings, and it drew me to tears when I first saw it, because I think instinctually I knew the power. Picasso painted that painting when, like, from the civil war that was happening in Spain. And even though I didn't know the history of the Civil War, I knew, my heart knew, my soul knew, my body knew that there was power, and it drew me to tears. And I think even the way that like I then subconsciously have like the light bulb with the eye, or the horse galloping, like to me that probably is the Guernica, or is Guernica coming through. And then even like, it's funny how things marinate, because I also have this postcard which I loved. I just love the color combinations and the harmony. It's by Flavio de Cavallo, Our Lady of Desire. And I just loved the new world that it presented. And to me, there's something about the power of being able to sit back and alchemize what experience through the body and paint that speaks into this thing of like color as harmony. And so I'm interested to see how these are going to come together, and if I'm going to like lay them 3 by 3, or if I'm going to make more because I have more canvas and really create a composition. And I don't know what they're going to be called yet. Maybe like Slow Your Horses was something that I was playing with, but I feel like that's too tongue-in-cheek, and it needs to be more about like the Levantine, the Dabke, the things that I wrote about last week. And then what I'm feeling this week in my kind of musings is this thing of like dropping in and saying, okay, God, okay, Allah, okay, Source, you know where to find me. And it's this thing of like, I'm realizing no matter where I travel, I have this ritual of painting every morning. You know, I've got these sketches. Every morning I have to paint and I have to write and I have to share what I create. And like, it's this thing of this muscle memory of God knowing, Source knowing where to find me. And it comes down to also painting. And I think this is what's coming up in me in my studio practice, is like taking the importance away and just making and creating, and then like coming back to it. And that's more important than one big moment, but like the residual daily practice is really important to me. So yeah, these kind of two themes of Levantine rebellious joy, awakening joy when there's chaos around, mixed with this quite pragmatic daily practice, small things, small micro habits, they're kind of stacking and they're forming a narrative. And that's what I speak into in this week's writing, but also in how I'm operating in the world. And I think next week I would like to, as I'm on the move again, I'm going to see if I can take some of these in my suitcase or just start sketching out more illustrative, compositional things. Because even though I never really paint or draw what I'm going to paint, that could be a way that I push my practice into having more of like a message about what's going on in the Levantine and what's going on in my mind and how I'm processing the world. So we'll see where that leads, but I think this is an interesting share and a glimpse into my studio this week.